Hey guys, Pie Guy Rules here. You voted, and guess what? Obama is the new president of the United States. But more importantly than that, you guys voted for the Fairly Odd Parents episode that you perceived to be the worst episode. And it came as a surprise to, no one that the worst episode of the Fairly Odd Parents, according to you, is Fairly Odd Baby, which is quite annoying for me because now I have to review a double-length episode. Come on. 40 minutes. This is going to be a big pain. So Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda are skydiving in the park when Cosmo and Wanda get distracted by the sight of babies, and they leave Timmy to completely fall without a parachute, awfully neglecting him and would have killed him in real life, but let's just ignore that fact. Anyway, Cosmo and Wanda dote over all these random babies in the park, leading Timmy to ask why don't they just have their own baby. So Cosmo tells Timmy that he was the last baby to be born in Fairy World, and he was so destructive and stupid that the Great Fairy Council, never heard of that before this episode, apparently banned babies in Fairy World. So Timmy simply wishes that they could have a baby. Jorgen von Strangle yells at them a little bit and tells them that he was going to put the rule in that he couldn't wish for one, but he didn't, so they're able to just wish for a baby. Also, as a little sidebar here, Jorgen von Strangle says "darn it," but he says it with a very thick accent, making people think he was swearing. In the trailer, there was a little bit of an outcry of this on the internet of people being like, is he swearing? Is he swearing? Personally, I'm pretty sure he's just saying darn in a really thick accent, but it really does sound like the other word. Anyway, Jorgen warns Timmy that he doesn't know what he's handling and he's gonna get in trouble and blah blah blah. At least Timmy just shrugs it off as blah blah blah. But considering how many times Timmy's wishes have gone awry, he really should have been more specific with this one. I mean, come on, why couldn't he have been like, I wish you guys had the perfectly behaved baby, or I wish you guys had a baby without any problems? I mean, simple specifications on these wishes could sum up these episodes so much faster, but I'm pretty much ruining the show, so let's move right along. Timmy comes home from school the next day and finds that Cosmo is barfing on him. So Cosmo wanted to explain that it's the boy fairies that have the babies. Of course. And Cosmo goes on to make a reference about the Bee Gees that's too old for me to understand, so I'm gonna be assured that it's way too old for any little kid to understand. And we go to a montage of Cosmo barfing on Timmy. Then we get another montage of the usual pregnancy jokes like weird mood swings and weird hunger pangs, and I'm sorry if I'm kind of rushing this along, it's just nothing so far in the episode has honestly been that bad. I mean, sure, it's weird that Cosmo's having the baby. It's kind of annoying, the whole, running gag of Cosmo barfing on Timmy. There's been nothing horrible yet, but the baby also hasn't been born yet. Timmy comes out of the shower one day to find that there's a bunch of fairies there hosting a fairy baby shower. Why? Because it's the shower, and fairies are very literal when it comes to things like that. Apparently, it's also Timmy that has to throw them a baby shower because he's the godson. So he goes through all this work, gets yelled at some more by Cosmo, and eventually gets pushed to the limit. So what does Timmy Turner do when he's sick of being abused by a bunch of fairies? He wishes Cosmo was gone. Seriously, Timmy? This is your solution to this problem? How about you just wish that he wasn't such a jerk? How about you wish that he had the baby already? How about you wish for anything other than the fact that you made the pregnant guy just disappear? And mind you, having a fairy baby is apparently a big deal according to Jorgen, and if evil people get their hands on this baby, it's bad news. So you just kind of wish away the pregnant person? Seriously, Timmy, what the heck? I mean, I know, they were being horrible to you and completely abusing you the entire episode, despite the fact that you're the one that gave them this baby, which is really creepy when you think about the fact that a 10-year-old boy helped make a baby. But regardless of that, it's just stupidity and jerkiness on the part of all of the characters, and I get that Cosmo's pregnant, so he's allowed to be a jerk, but come on, there's ways around this. Maybe Wanda could have been less of a jerk. What has Wanda been doing for her pregnant husband? Seriously. Ugh. And they keep making the Bee Gees joke. Seriously, I barely know who the Bee Gees are, and I'm like 20 years old. What about the intended target demographic here? How are they gonna know what the Bee Gees are? And I know. You can totally make adult jokes, but I mean, come on, to have it be a running gag about an old band from what, like the 60s or something? I don't know, maybe I'm just complaining here, but it doesn't seem like a joke that kids could understand, and it's typical Fairly Odd Parents humor of taking something that maybe could be funny to someone and just keep reusing the joke over and over again in the episode to the point where it's just not even funny even if you got the joke in the first place. Also, I know this is probably a moot point, but why couldn't Timmy just wish him back? I mean, at least in this circumstance, it was Timmy who made the wish in the first place, so like, he can't just wish for a magical Cosmo finding device, or wish Cosmo was back, or something. I mean, okay, maybe it's because Cosmo is the one that granted the wish and no one would know where Cosmo is, but I mean, you could at least say that in the movie. More importantly, could you imagine, though, if Timmy had actually unwished his wish instead of wishing Cosmo gone? Because he unwishes his wish a lot. Would that technically mean that he would abort Cosmo's baby? You know what, this is a weird episode as it is. I don't need to be taking this weird places. Let's just move along. So they poof up a giant command center to search for Cosmo, and Jorgen von Strangle ate a burrito, so now he needs more spiciness on the burrito, and then bathroom joke, and then another bathroom joke, and... Alright, since I'm at a standpoint here in the episode, let me talk a little bit about why the humor in The Fairly Odd Parents kinda stinks, to be honest. And look, I love the show, and the show used to be funny, but honestly, it's just not working. Like, so much of the humor here comes from these repetitive gags of like, oh, he ate a burrito, he gotta go to the bathroom, he's gotta go to the bathroom again, oh, burrito's funny, he made smell. Like, it's so cliche. Like, Timmy uses the phrase, you know, this is the last straw. And of course, Jurgen's got to butt in with, no, actually, Turner, that was the last straw over there. And it's like, you see these jokes coming from a mile away. Eventually, they figure out that Cosmo is at Anti-Fairy World. So Wanda, Timmy, and Jurgen bust down Anti-Fairy World's door and proclaim that they have stolen Cosmo and their incredibly powerful fairy baby that they could totally rule the world with. And they know absolutely nothing about this and decide, hey, there's a fairy baby out there, let's go try to kidnap him ourselves. So, yeah, nice going, Timmy. You basically created the villain of the episode. So they decide that he must be at Pixie World. So they go to Pixie World and Wanda does the talking, but she tells them the same exact thing, and she proclaims that Cosmo must be at Pixie World. But doesn't make any sense because Wanda just said that there are plenty of worlds before, like Mattress World, so how come he has to be at Pixie World or Anti-Fairy World? And oh, my brain is hurting, too much stupidity. So Pixies know about the fairy baby too, and they're off to go kidnap Cosmo and the fairy baby and take over the universe. Jorgen has another bathroom burrito joke, and then Timmy and Wanda try to think of where Cosmo could possibly be. They think about it for a little while, and then they're like, you don't think. And then they poof to the great outdoors, and they talk to Cosmo, and he's like, yeah, I got lost in the great outdoors. And they're like, oh, thank goodness we found you. I guess it makes sense that Cosmo is like actually lost, but if he was lost in the great outdoors, how could they know exactly what wilderness Cosmo was in, how to poof to it? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, come on, the logic here. I mean, what if Cosmo was at Lost, the planet called Lost? There was a planet that was named Lost, and Cosmo was there. There you go. Easy enough. That's a pun that they would probably do anyway. Oh, by the way, we got another Cosmo vomiting on Timmy joke. Hooray! So, but oh no, Cosmo's about to give birth, so they poof him off to the hospital where Dr. Rip Studwell is there to deliver the baby. If only he knew how. Yeah, apparently no one knows how to deliver a fairy baby, and really, can you blame them? If Cosmo's got traditional male plumbing, I mean, really, how would this possibly work? I mean, I could see it where maybe he would barf up the baby. That would probably make the most logical sense. But anyway, no one knows how to deliver this thing, so Timmy solves it the way he solves every problem in this show, by wishing the baby out of Cosmo. And that is when we first see little baby not named yet. And also, the gender's unknown. For some reason, they decided to wait until the end of the episode to show us. I don't know why. Is that a big mystery? I guess maybe some people cared. Jorgen von Strangle shows up and wants the baby for good. The Anti-Fairies and Pixies show up and want the baby for evil. And Mama Cosmo wants the baby just because she wants to pinch its cheeks. There's another running gag related to Rio and clubs and I don't know. Half the show's dialogue is made up of running jokes that just aren't funny, especially if you just keep reusing them. I mean, in an 11-minute show, you can maybe reuse the joke twice or 3 times, but when you have the full hour or 40 minutes to do so, reusing these jokes over and over and over again are just really annoying. And they're not even jokes. They're just making references to the same thing over and over. Like, the Pixies say that their costume got them into that club in Rio, and then Cupid says this was better in Rio. It's like, yeah, Rio exists. Cool. But anyway, everyone wants to take the baby away from Cosmo, Wanda, and Timmy, and that doesn't jive with them. So, while trying to escape, the baby starts laughing, and its magic, I don't know, makes them invisible or teleports them away for a short period of time and then teleports them back. It's kind of vague what happens, but anyway, the baby's laughter is magic, who could have guessed, and they evade all of their pursuers. So, in an attempt to get away, Timmy wishes for a rocket-powered car, which Wanda assumes is too dangerous, so he just wishes for a rocket-powered stroller, and they have a chase scene with Jurgen von Strangle flying jets with a big fairy army, and it really doesn't make any sense. Mama Cosme even lampshades the fact that they can fly. Why do they need jets? I mean, why doesn't Timmy just poof down to Earth, or poof somewhere random, or just poof somewhere? It doesn't really make much sense, but I get it. The show has to have some sort of a plot. It can't just be Timmy wishing. So Timmy, Cosmo, Wanda, and the baby hide in some forest in Fairy World, and then Cosmo starts scaring the baby because it's all scary in the woods. The baby starts crying, and bad things happen when the baby cries. So a giant "the baby is here" sign appears. Also, when it burps, lightning happens. So Jorgen's about to circle in on them when the anti-fairies and pixies catch up to him. Head Pixie makes another reference to the fact that they can fly, and Jorgen says that they're in jets because it's fun. And hey, rule of fun is in full effect, so whatever. Anyway, with them closing in, Timmy decides that it would be best if he took the baby, because no one would suspect an irresponsible jerk like him to ever be able to take care of a baby. So he does something smart. He poofs up a fake Timmy and fake fairy baby to go with Cosmo and Wanda, then wishes himself home where he can safely guard the baby, while Cosmo and Wanda lead a false chase. Hey, there's using some intellect there. Also, we get more really obvious Cosmo is stupid jokes. For instance, when Timmy wants to name the baby Little T because it's easy to remember like Timmy, Cosmo's like, yeah, Tommy's right. Ho ho, get it? Because he can't remember Timmy's name, even though Timmy said it was rememberable. See, the thing about that is it doesn't make any sense without context of the joke. I mean, why would Cosmo forget Timmy's name? Like, I know he's stupid, but seriously, I feel like he's going out of his way to say Timmy's name wrong just to be a butthole. I feel like he's doing that because there's really no reason why. It doesn't make any sense, and it's not funny. God, Cosmo's stupid jokes are never funny. So Jorgen, the Pixies, then the Anti-Fairies keep chasing after the decoys, and Mama Cosmo starts nagging Jorgen about how he's doing this wrong, he's doing that wrong, and then Jorgen ejects her. And I just realized something very horrible about this show. Alright, so we all know that Cosmo's a blithering idiot, and Wanda is a really bad nag. And we know this, and the humor is very exaggerated. It's always kind of been there, but it just got worse and worse as seasons went on, to the point where it looked like they had a horrible relationship because of both of these things. But it's not just them. It's this entire universe. The entire Fairly OddParents universe is just filled with men who are idiots and women who nag. I mean, think about it. Okay, so there's Timmy's godparents. Timmy is considered an idiot, and sometimes he is an idiot. Timmy's dad's an idiot. Timmy's mom's a nag. Crocker's, well, incompetent, probably an idiot, you'd probably say so. Vicky's, well, very controlling and naggy. Mama Cosmo's a nag. Jorgen has his really idiotic moments. Seriously, most characters fit this kind of weird thing. I mean, hey, look at a really early episode when Timmy switched Wanda and Cosmo's genders. I mean, Cosmo became naggy and Wanda became an idiot. And how about the one where, the Valentine's Day episode where they separate men and women? Men are idiots who can't do anything for themselves, and women are know-it-all nags. That's just this entire show. And look, I'm not saying that there's no truth in that sometimes, but to perpetuate that every woman is a nag and every man's a lazy idiot, it's not a very good thing, to be honest, for either gender. And yeah, it's not funny. It's really not funny. I know this has like very little to do with this episode, but it's just something I just now realized, that the entire universe is full of this crap. And it's been something that's gone on for a very long time on the show, and yeah, it got worse as it went on. Anyway, back to Timmy at home alone with the baby when he realizes he's alone with a baby. Timmy goes to feed it, and his parents discover the baby. But Timmy just tells him that it is a battery-operated baby doll. And what does Timmy's dad do? Timmy's dad calls Timmy Tommy, because that makes any sort of sense. I guess it's rule of running gag that it just has to be perpetuated, and hey, Dad's an idiot too, so yeah, he can't remember his son's name. That's funny. Yeah. Timmy starts bonding with the baby in the park, finds out that the baby can use his magic and understand Timmy, and poofs up a stroller, poofs a beard on Timmy, and then turns some poor ice cream guy's head into a giant smiling rabbit face, and scares off all the kids, and it's really creepy. And the worst part is, they don't reverse it. There's just this guy living with this giant, creepy, derpy-looking rabbit head. That's some fridge horror right there. So aside from that nightmare fuel, everything's going well. Until Timmy jinxes it by saying the baby's magic is pure good, to which the baby starts crying, and a giant ice cream monster appears. Timmy tries to calm the baby by giving it a bottle, but then the baby starts hiccuping, which creates natural disasters for some reason. And by the way, I saw 4 volcanoes erupt just right there. Tons of people would be dead from that magma. From like even getting near that magma, the heat alone would just melt them. Like, I know it wasn't where any people were, but it was pretty close to a city, and there were hurricanes. People totally died because of that baby's actions. And I know it's a baby, but I'm just saying, maybe Jorgen was right. Maybe this thing is too powerful for just Wanda, Cosmo, and Timmy to take care of. And just on cue, Jorgen shows up to say, I can solve all your problems, and I need to train the baby so he doesn't kill millions of people with his natural disasters. And so Timmy's like, alright, here's the baby. And then it turns out that Jorgen is actually Head Pixie and Anti-Cosmo in disguise, which was actually nicely foreshadowed a while ago when Head Pixie was disguised as Jorgen to try to take the baby. But I will have to say, it's like 32 minutes into this 47-minute special, and finally there's some actual tension, some actual drama, some actual, I don't know what's going to happen next. Up until this point, it's just kind of been shenanigans with Cosmo being pregnant, buffoonery chase scenes, and the villains hilariously failing. It's been like no plot up until this point. Basically, the entire episode could be summed up as, Cosmo got pregnant, Cosmo barfed on Timmy, Cosmo gave birth, the wacky antagonist tried to take the baby, and natural disasters ended up happening, and then he gave them the baby by mistake. That's like the plot so far. And look, I'm not saying that Fairly Odd Parents of all things need to have like this insane plot for me to want to pay attention or for it to be a good episode, but considering it's a special, I mean, come on, there's gotta be some kind of good plot going on. Just because there's a baby, it isn't enough to warrant it as a full special. Maybe a half hour, but not a full 40-minute, two normal show lengths, 4 normal mini episode lengths long. There's got to be some substance in plot. I mean, say what you want about Abracatastrophe or Channel Chasers or something like that, but those have interesting plots. I mean, there's something there. There's a reason why those are movies. This is just, well, maybe something will happen now. Then the real Jorgen poofs in with Cosmo and Wanda, saying that he's finally got the baby, but of course he only has the doll. Timmy tells him that he lost the baby, and everyone starts freaking out. By the way, I haven't mentioned it, but all throughout this special, they've been saying what they think the baby name should be. They're all pretty stupid names, and for some reason Jorgen thinks he gets some kind of jurisdiction on naming the baby. I mean, look, I get that Jorgen wants to protect this thing, and I get that this thing is very powerful. I think Jorgen should totally help it harness its powers, but it's still Cosmo and Wanda's kid. Seriously, Jorgen, you're not involved in the whole parent thing. Oh, then the burrito running joke comes in again with Jorgen having to go to the bathroom again. So they poof to Anti-Cosmo's headquarters, and then there's another Tommy joke, and then they start freaking out because they can't get the baby back, and then, against all odds, something funny actually happens. And no, it's not a running gag, it's not Cosmo being stupid, it's not Wanda being a nag, it's an entirely new joke. First it zooms in on Timmy, who says he has a plan, and then it smash cuts to him in some gold armor, zooms out to show that Wanda's in some sort of archer outfit, Cosmo's in some sort of taco fast food outfit, and Jorgen is in a bunny suit, and they're trapped inside a butterfly net. That's pretty funny. That's a big funny smash cut right there. Like, I wasn't expecting for that to happen. Good joke. I will give you that good joke. And then there's another burrito joke. Anti-Cosmo and HP show up with their big plan that they're going to suck the baby dry of magic and use it to doom and destroy everything and take over the world and blah, blah, blah. But fear not, as Timmy's plan isn't finished, because he had a sword, and swords can cut through butterfly nets. So that's how they escape. Timmy then heroically says, "Let's go save that baby," and then he promptly gets trampled by everyone. Hey, another semi-funny joke. Alright. Then they go out the door, and it turns out that they're in a hallway with 1,000,000 doors, and they're like, how are we ever gonna find the baby? And then Wanda's like, my maternal instincts are kicking in. I think the baby is over here. And then she points to a door with a big sign above it that says nursery and baby draining facility, and it has a giant arrow. And that was like another joke that was funny. The show can pump out some humor sometimes. It just relies on gags that just keep going on, and references that just keep going on, and I've mentioned it way too many times. Let's just move on. Oh, wait, apparently that wasn't their plan that they were just talking about, as we hear them say that they're gonna suck the magic out of Poof because baby magic is the purest magic ever, and then give the magic to the anti-fairy wand, and then with that magic they will just wish away Fairy World from existence, and then with Fairy World gone, the universe will be theirs, and then they can destroy Earth, and more blah-de-blah-de-blah. So we actually see their plan starting to go through. Fairy World is poofed away, and the Earth starts to crumble with a bunch of natural disasters happening all over it. Then Timmy comes up with a brilliant idea to make the baby save them, because Cosmo and Wanda had their wands stolen, and so did Jorgen. But the baby is going to free them by throwing the bottle at the baby's going to suck on the bottle is going to make him burp, and then lightning on Head Pixie and Anti-Cosmo. That is another actually smart plan there, Timmy. Good job. Wow, and it actually turns out that Timmy's plan was a Batman gambit all along, meaning a really complicated plan, as Jorgen was dressed as a bunny so that he could make Poof laugh, Wanda was dressed as Robin Hood so she could have the bow to shoot the bottle, and Cosmo was dressed as the taco guy because, running joke of burrito? The baby laughs and poofs up a bunch of bunnies, then they make the baby cry by hitting Jorgen, and the bunnies turn into one giant demon bunny. Chases away all the pixies and anti-fairies, and then destroys the anti-fairy's wand. So HP and Anti-Cosmo are tied up, and it looks like everything's all wrapped up, except for the fact that the Earth is kind of still being destroyed and stuff, but hey, they can just get their wands back and wish that away, right? No? Apparently not. So instead, Cosmo gives Poof a burrito, which is the reason why Timmy had Cosmo dress up as a taco guy, gives him a burrito knowing that the gases that the burrito produces inside Poof will make... Actually, no one quite knows what'll happen if Poof farts, so we shall find out, I suppose, but technically, the whole burrito as a recurring joke thing is a Chekhov's burrito, I suppose, and the fact that it was a running joke, and it was a joke, but it was actually foreshadowing something and actually used later, so yeah, it was still annoying as a running joke, but hey, at least it had a purpose. I'll give them some props for that. Well, a lot of stuff happens, actually. First, we go into this really weird, trippy sequence where Head Pixie, Anti-Cosmo, Cosmo, Wanda, Jorgen, and Timmy are all in this really trippy area, and they're all dressed up as different people from different time periods, and trippy music plays, and then that cuts out, and then we get stock footage for a little while, which is just weird, and then all of a sudden the universe starts correcting itself, the Earth is put back together, everyone is saved, Fairy World is returned, and, well, Deus Ex Machina. Jorgen reveals that Head Pixie and Anti-Cosmo are now raisins, and he's gonna put them in his cereal to keep him regular, because... poop jokes? And also, he's gonna eat his enemies? What? Anyway, he gives the baby a magical rattle that will help him channel his magic, and then he decides to take him off forever, and Cosmo and Wanda can visit him in a millennia or so. But, Jorgen took the fake baby, so the baby is now theirs, and... yeah, that was kind of a stupid cop-out, because Jorgen's gonna figure that out and come back and take the baby, although that never actually happens. So, yeah, you should have just had Jorgen learn the lesson that the baby should just be with Cosmo and Wanda, and have him train the baby occasionally, but whatever. They go back to the house, and Timmy's like, what are we gonna name it? And they have to change it first. So, oh boy, we're gonna find out what gender it is. And while Wanda's changing the baby, she opens up the diaper and gets squirted in the eye, so it's the typical pee joke. But no, it's not. It's actually Poof got a water squirter out of nowhere, and he's definitely a boy because boys love water squirters? Uh, okay, sure, whatever. We'll just ignore that part. Anyway, they decide to name it Poof because it likes to poof things up and because they think British people will like to make fun of it. Alright, special over. Time for final thoughts. The plot of this was really stupid. I mean, you could have come up with something better. Like, look, I get the baby being powerful and everyone wanting to take it away from Cosmo and Wanda. I get that, but so much of it's just filled with stupid jokes. The anti-fairies and pixies, like, barely get their hands on the baby for, like, 5 seconds. At the end, there's not much tension. It's just... It's a stupid plot, okay? The jokes are not funny. The recurring jokes are just stupid. Even if the burrito thing did come into play again, there's no reason why it had to have that stupid joke over and over again. And then there's the Rio stupid joke, and then there's the stupid Tommy joke, and then there's so many stupid jokes. And the major problem is that it introduces Poof. Now, look, I get that the show wanted to have a really cute character. I understand that. They need to appeal to that cute demographic. Whatever. Poof is cute. I will admit that. But that doesn't make him a good character by any stretch of the imagination. It kind of throws off the whole balance of the series. Timmy's their kid. Like, that's kind of the way it works being fairy godparents. You can't be fairy godparents without the parents being there. So, I don't know. Them having a baby... It kind of makes sense in a way of a story arc for them, but it doesn't so much in the whole of the series. It would make more sense as a series finale if they ended up having a baby and moving on from Timmy. That would be a good series finale, but that's not what we're gonna get. That's not what we have gotten if a Fairly Odd live-action show is anything to indicate that that's the finale, or is it the live-action Fairly Odd Christmas, whatever. Either way, it's not the finale we're going to get, and we got a few more seasons of the baby, and then they're going to bring on a fairy dog, and this show just got really derailed somewhere, and it's kind of sad, because occasionally I can see it breaking through with some interesting humor, and the characters, look, they have their moments when they get really flanderized, when Cosmo's a real idiot, or when Wanda's really a nag, or when Timmy's really, I don't know, annoying, an idiot, whatever, but there's still some heart to the show, and the creators at least put a little bit of effort into it, and that's all I ever really ask in a show. If the creators and people behind it are putting effort into it, it shows. And even though the plot was bad, the jokes were pretty bad, and the whole idea of the baby was stupid, it at least came from somewhere, and there were a few elements of this that did work. I did like the fact that everyone was chasing the baby and no one would just let it be with the family, and I dig the fact that the baby is really powerful. Like, some of those elements really did work, but a lot of them didn't, and to be honest, the whole Cosmo being pregnant thing was weird, awkward, not funny in the least, and very played out. This special falls very short. So, for all those reasons, I totally understand why you guys voted it the worst episode of the Fairly Odd Parents. This would probably be my least favorite episode too, so I'm not going to do another review. Instead, next time I'm going to review the live-action Fairly Odd Parents Christmas movie! Yay! Bad Guy Rules?